¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
stream. It is Friday. Junior, welcome everybody. Welcome, Michael Hassler, Earth. Wow, no Discord announcement. Don't worry, we'll make an announcement right now. Yes, join the Discord. Bipedal Meatbag, welcome. Cosmic Seeking. How's it going, everybody? I hope everyone is ready for the weekend that is all but around the corner. Welcome, everybody. Gotta make sure I got everything going. All right. So before we start, sorry. Before we start, we do have a few things. First of all, of course, join the Discord every Saturday or last Saturday of every month. There is a movie event, movie night, whatever you want to call it. If you want to join. Yes, exactly. The weekend is looming. It is here. It is all but here, folks. If you want to enjoy movie night and hang out, you can. It's the last Saturday of every month. Also, if you're on the YouTubes, don't forget to like the stream. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. There we are. Okay. That's right. Also check out the merch store. This coming Saturday is not the last Saturday of the month. No, it is not. I'm just warning people ahead of time. Unfortunately, not indeed. Let me just make sure I got everything going here. Gotta plug the Kirkland. That's right. The you know, surprisingly, the generic Costco brand. This is the Costco brand, Kirkland. Yeah, where the real money comes from. I'm gonna be honest. The Kirkland sparkling water, which is just carbonated water, is actually pretty good. Not gonna lie. Read and Rap, welcome. We need a few big L's for Donald Trump before the end of the month. Or maybe another way of thinking about it is maybe Democrats should do something to, invigorate the base to go and be ecstatic to vote for them. Right? Instead of thinking in the negative, where we need the opposition to fail, why not the Democratic Party just do good things? I'm just putting that out there. Instead of hoping for Donald Trump to, which by the way, he needs no help in taking L's on that. He needs no help. But maybe instead of concentrating or hoping that he does, maybe instead of hoping or rolling the dice that your enemy trips up, why not just do good things? You should put the MAGA out there as well. Yeah. And we do. And we will. The issue is also, like, the Democratic Party needs to do its part, you know? You can't expect the Republicans, you can't bank on the idea that the Republicans are going to take an L. Simply because that's not how that works. And I will explain a reason as to why that is. Take it away, Mr. Dole.
Well, it really can't get much worse than this. While some people are very concerned about the damage that unserious primary challengers may cause to Joe Biden, I'll get to more on that later, they should be more concerned about how terrible their own candidate is, as recent polling out showcases that he would just barely defeat a convicted felon in a national poll, which would mean he would still likely lose the election. Check this out.
We did ask this question, Kristen, if one of these cases this year ends in a...
Which, by the way, we don't even know if we'll even get a resolution to any of these cases by the election year. That's a joke. Republicans are always taking L's. Well...
conviction, a felony conviction for former President Trump, would that change your vote? 45% said in that scenario, they vote for Biden, 43% for Trump. This is also something the Biden campaign obviously hoping for, although it's a long history in polling of asking folks about hypotheticals and them actually reacting a little differently when it actually happens.
A little bit of a game changer, but still incredibly close.
A game changer, she says. I will get to how this is not a game changer. I mean, the 2% on the board.
The 2% is literally just a statistical tie. In a hypothetical matchup, like, I didn't even see this poll. In a hypothetical matchup of a Biden and Trump general election, with the knowledge that he gets convicted, is a statistical tie. That's not great. That's not good. Nevada preferred none of the above over Nikki Haley. Yep, that's true. We'll get to that in a second.
Be obvious, but I'll help you understand why this national poll ultimately is not good for Joe Biden, despite the semi-praise they're giving him here. But the initial poll before the convicted felon part was added into it was Trump winning by 47 to 42. And again, this is national polling. I'll get to why this doesn't really matter. And then after the conviction, Biden narrowly is winning by 45 to 43. So this was 2020. National polling in 2020. At the very end, right before the end of the election, you have here, or right before the election, Biden leading Trump nationally by 8.4%. That resulted in this. Barely winning. And I say barely because look at these states that he flipped. 49.4 to 48.8. 50.6 to 47.8. 50 to 48.8. 49.4 to 49. 49.5 to 49.2. These are states that right now Biden is losing to Trump in this hypothetical matchup with these swing states. This is why I say, national polling gives you an idea where people stand nationally, but ultimately when it comes to a general election, what matters is the Electoral College.
Correct.
Winning these states is the only thing that matters.
Gerrymandering on display again? No, this has nothing to do with gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is where comes into play when it comes to like selecting Congress, but in this case, no, this has nothing to do with gerrymandering.
So this is actually a poll from December showing Biden losing every swing state, and let's get to the updated one here. This is from 5 days ago from Bloomberg and Morning Consult, and showing Biden still losing every single swing state. Though some slight variations, but he's still losing every single swing state. This is where we get to this next video here from MSNBC. So I am constantly, I guess amazed is the wrong word because they're always getting shit wrong. But just it's incredible to see people in positions of power who are worried about the future of democracy, worried about the country, worried about the world, so concerned or concerned at all about the handful of people that are attempting to primary Joe Biden, who of course are not very successful so far. Like, I'm going to show you this clip. This is Dean Phillips on MSNBC, who just recently got whooped, in his own words, in South Carolina to Joe Biden. And I'm going to get to some of the reactions of the panel and just the way they are talking down to Dean Phillips, who, look, Dean Phillips, from what I've read, from what I've seen of him, is actually worse than Joe Biden is on a number of issues. So I'm not here to defend Dean Phillips, but I am here to defend just his act of primarying Joe Biden. This is the very thing they are so afraid of, yet their own candidate right now is on the path to a massive loss. Check this out.
Yeah. So this is so frustrating. On a lighter note, I'm glad to see David really embracing the plaid. I have not yet embraced the plaid. Maybe my time will come. Okay. Maybe my time will come. Jank will, yeah. Mariana dropping out. This just happened. That's true. Jank now has a path to victory. Okay. Plaid is so 80s. I'm okay with that.
So the chairman in me,
the strategist and the chairman, yes.
The chairman in me says, what the hell are you doing?
Sure.
Right? And why are you doing it? Are you creating a drain in the process, prolonging the narratives around his age, prolonging the narratives around other things that people are distracted by with Joe Biden, when the real threat is the man across the aisle?
Bro, are you serious? That is one of the numbers. Like, you're basically saying to disregard like the electorate's like biggest concern. Okay, the Democratic base's biggest concern when it comes to Joe Biden is his age and his ability. Okay. And judging by the fact that he literally just did another gaffe where he confused another European leader that has been long gone. In this case, I think it was the German leader that he was confused about. Yeah, I think maybe some of those concerns are valid. Okay? Because you can't go like attacking, like, just to be clear, like, Donald Trump's mind is gone too. But like that kind of, you can't really use that angle of attack because then they'll just point to They'll just point to Biden and go like, "Are you serious right now?" Yeah, and Colin Taylor, Swift, Britney Spears.
In Donald Trump. And the polling shows at the end of the day, Donald Trump is going to lose to Joe Biden.
That's not exactly true. Also, if the case is that you actually genuinely believe, if it is the case that you genuinely believe that Donald Trump is a really big threat and you need to address this, which, by the way, it's true. There's no doubt in my mind that the Republican Party is an incredibly big threat. So why are you not taking this seriously? Why are you putting up a candidate like Joe Biden, who's currently, on the cusp of potentially losing? Okay. Like, if you look at the polling, if you look at the numbers of how the election played out in 2020 versus now, it's not good. It's not really looking good at all. It's not really looking good at all. Time to take both grandpas back to the nursing home. Because we can't have nice things. That's true.
All right. First of all, no.
Shake it off.
The polling does not show that. I will get to Dean Phillips and his overall reaction to all of this, because he has a pretty good defense of himself. But Dean Phillips does not have the power to prolong any narratives about Joe Biden when Dean Phillips got 1.7% in South Carolina against Joe Biden in that primary. No one's listening to Dean Phillips. If they were, maybe they'd be voting for him.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of forgot that this dude was still there. As a trans girl, I hope he beats Trump. Biden is bleeding youth votes. That's completely valid. And you know what? Yeah, it's true. Biden is bleeding youth votes. And if the Democratic Party decides that they're not going to change course, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. And the problem with that is that the Republicans will come into power and they're not going to have any qualms about doing what they need to do. I am scared. Yeah, it's a completely valid feeling. The Democrats are playing games. They're playing dangerous games with real people's with the outcomes of real lives on the balance, and they're out here playing games and expecting the base just to simply react the way they want the base to react, and that's it. He's dropping the ball hard. Yep, 100%.
But he's not. His existence in this primary is just him participating in democracy. And again, I think on paper, he is worse than Biden is. In reality, I think he'd probably have a better chance at beating Trump than Biden is, but he would have to get to the general, and getting to the general is the hardest part. So that's not going to happen. But
the Gaudi 2 deep learning processor was built from the ground up for high performance.
All Dean Phillips is trying to do with his run is try to wake some people up to reality of how weak of a candidate Joe Biden is, especially post October 7th, and just the cozying up that Biden has done with a far right genocidal government in Israel. This has only hurt him. And Biden was already underperforming before October 7th. He's doing even worse now with the voters that he needs, including voters of color, voters in Michigan, young people. across the board in the most important numbers, the ones that got him the victory in 2020, that's where he's losing support. So even when you're even polling 2% over a convicted felon, meaning you would lose in the general because he had to get 8% in national polling to defeat him in 2020, it shows how weak of a candidate Biden is and why it's very important for not only these random primary challengers to do what they're doing, but even more important for those with a platform, a voice, an ear to the Democratic Party, an ear to Biden's campaign. Like these people in media on MSNBC, it's even more important for them to engage in this conversation and try to do something, whether it's completely push the Biden campaign into a direction that would allow them to maybe get some of these voters back, or better yet, just replace them. I know it's late. We're already in the primary process, but man.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's enough time. Like, even if we were to hypothetically say, like, okay, as the Democratic Party, we've decided that we're going to replace Biden. Okay, it doesn't matter who, even if they had somebody on standby to replace him. Man, 11 months out, or 9 months out, I should say. 9 months out, and you just replace. I don't know how, like, that's gonna play out. Even if they did have somebody on standby, even if they did have somebody to just boom jump in, it's 9 months out. It's 9 months out. Replace him with who? I don't know, bipedal meatbag, but even if they did have somebody already in mind, 9 months out, this is not gonna work. So no, I don't think that's feasible. Biden is carrying the ball right now, and that's the rub. Yep. I feel like on principle, people refuse to vote for Biden because they are trying to force him on us. Yeah. And you know, what's the saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
This is they have set themselves up for disaster, and it's really, they have to just hope to God there are enough people who are not answering these polls, who are, somehow not part of the math. There's going to be enough people who didn't vote or are not voters that are going to come out to vote for Joe
There's
Biden.
an old
I'm saying that
saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
He's going to get those kinds of voters out for him. All the more reason why he should be doing a completely different, shift in terms of what his administration is doing in regards to Israel, but also just generally. Like, there's got to be something else here. I want to play for you, though, Dean Phillips and his...
That's a classic. Yeah, honestly, like... Okay, so real talk, yeah, the Biden administration, should they decide that winning is part of their agenda, they need to do a complete 180. And even then, 9 months out, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very difficult. But nonetheless, if they want a chance, if winning is part of their agenda, if they have winning the election as part of their priorities, then like the changes need to start happening. They need to start happening now, like yesterday, like months ago.
His defense of his own primary challenge.
It's a mission of principle, and I know tradition dictates that you always protect the incumbent. But I'm a Democrat who wants to win, and yes, he's dominating in the Democratic primary so far. I get it. But look at not the national numbers, as you just referenced. Look at the state numbers. Look at the lowest approval numbers in history. You know that Jimmy Carter was at 58% in January of 1980? Joe Biden's at 38%. You see the battlegrounds, all 7 of them. I'm just trying to wake up our party.
Yeah, and like if you look at like the approval ratings from like presidents, it just keeps going low and low and low and low and low.
We are the progressive party. We should be moving forward. And let's bring some energy and wake up our party and get young people energized. 4% turnout yesterday in South Carolina. 4%. Yes, it is a whooping. But my goodness, people are apathetic. They are staying home. They don't care. We got to wake people up.
Yeah, that's not good. I didn't know he was from Minnesota. Me neither. Completely forgot. That's not something you want to hear, right? Like I saw like all the people on the Twitter saying like, oh, you know, we got this. You know, look how strong Biden looks. Look how strong Biden looks in the South Carolina primary. My brethren in Christ, 4% turnout? 4% turnout? Whew. That is not something to boast about. Overall, I think it's overall. Only about 141,000 votes cast. Oof. Yeah, that's not great. He just said it, didn't he?
And let's bring some energy and wake up our party and get young people energized. 4% turnout yesterday in South Carolina.
Yeah, 4% turnout. Primaries seem kind of pointless to me. They're not really pointless. You know, if they're managed or done in a democratic way, they're not really pointless. The whole point of the primary is to, you know, duke it out to see who's going to be the next you know, Democratic challenger, Democratic star, whatever. But if they're run, you know, if they're run like this, then, you know, then I understand why you might say that. But as Michael Hassler just pointed out, they shouldn't be. Well, much like those pointless GOP debates, the primary is pretty pointless at this time. Yeah, well, given the setup, you know, Biden's an incumbent who said he'd not run again, square that circle. Depends on what state you're in. That's also true. That's also true.
4%. Yes, it is a whooping. But my goodness, people are apathetic. They are staying home. They don't care. We got to wake people up. I'm trying to inspire a party right now, and a coronation, in my estimation, is the worst way to invite.
Dean Phillips, I hate to say it, is exactly right. A primary process brings new voters into the voting process, making them more likely to vote in a general election. Primaries are good for democracy. They're good for the party. This is all Dean Phillips is trying to raise here. Like, the points he makes, they're irrefutable. State turnout, 4%. Like, sure, this looks terrible for everybody except for Biden, but 4% turnout? This tells you nothing in terms of the results in a general election. This is why, state by state, these sorts of polls, these polls are the only polls that matter. Looking at swing states and where people are in these swing states, that's what is going to give you a better idea of what will happen in a general election. But low state turnout, historically low approval numbers. No president has ever won re-election in the 30s. Biden is there, has been there for a while.
Yeah. Also, like, you know, For the people who are like, dismissing polls, I think it's pretty naive. And once again, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it in November.
And
if see, because like again, I'm hoping to ring the alarm bells now so that there is a chance to course correct. If I'm wrong, that's fine. If I'm wrong, that's fine. I'm okay with that. You see, but if I'm not, then the consequences are much greater. Okay, like I you know what? If I'm wrong, whatever. I end up getting egg on my face, and talking head on the internet takes another L for trying to predict what's going to happen in the election. I can live with that. But if I'm not,
just overall low turnout and terrible polling really showcases this is not a good candidate. And I know this is not news to anybody, but it's just this continues to be the biggest issue for democracy moving forward, because you don't want someone who tried to steal an election win the presidency again. But when you have a president who is currently supporting a genocide, not even supporting it, helping to fund a genocide, like, you're kind of putting people in a tough spot, aren't you? So I dread doing videos like this because they're never fun to talk about how crazy shit is. And
yeah, so like it's really hard to push the whole like, oh, we're trying to save democracy while having this as a Democratic primary. One thing. Number two, it's really hard to say that you are, fighting Trump and fighting the far right and trying to preserve democracy when you're funding literally far right fascist Netanyahu. No consistency there. It's really hard for that message to land and saying like, oh, we're trying to fight the ultra radical MAGA Republicans or whatever. And then you literally just you attempt to give them the very bill they want on immigration. Like, there's a huge disconnect here. There's a huge disconnect here that's happening. And the Democratic Party is refusing to apparently seems to be not wanting to read the writing on the wall here.
And where things currently are going. But it's important to be aware of where things stand, of where voters stand. And if things don't change, if the Democratic Party doesn't change, and it doesn't, the new immigration bill, I could have talked about that too, but like moving further right, trying to pass things that Republicans would have happily passed, 4-8 years ago, to be putting forward legislation that is far right, to be supporting far right governments abroad, to not be doing anything to address, low wages, the cost of living, actual issues that people are dealing with on a daily basis, the cost of healthcare, to do nothing or very little, to be fair, very little on some of these issues.
Yeah, like remember in 2019, thankfully, I just saw this on the Rational Nationals Discord. In 2019, like even Biden was trying to like, as part of like the platform, was trying to push like a public option. What happened to that? Okay. What even happened to that? Apparently that wasn't the priority either.
issues, is not going to be enough to get you a victory, especially when you are losing, as I said, a lot of young people, and the people that got you the victory in 2020, when you're losing them with your support of a genocide.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not great. Not good. Not great. I called Biden Trump light yesterday, and I stand by it. Well, I can see the arguments for that.
Connecticut is leading the charge, becoming the first. Connecticut is leading.
Well, time to shift gears and take a little W, okay? You know, you gotta take the wins when they come.
Leading the charge, becoming the first state in the nation to cancel medical debt for thousands of eligible residents.
Maybe it's $2,000 or so, paycheck to paycheck. That's a tough load to have to carry. Get that lifted off of your back.
Not sure which party is the lesser evil right now. I mean, like, the thing is, like, I get it. I get it. And you know, Irk was saying, they are incredibly worried about a Republican victory or Republican administration, and completely valid. It's just like, so where's the opposition? Where is the opposition when you have like scenarios like this? This isn't just some rando on the internet, okay? This is a journalist, Huffington Post journalist, you know, talking about how like Democrats are following, negotiating this bill, this immigration bill, by, quote, following their instructions to the letter. What is the point of an opposition party if they're following instructions of the far right to the letter on this immigration bill? Let me just be clear. Like, explain to me where, like, what do we do with this? What am I supposed to take from this? Okay. Hey, Firefly. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. 'Cause we've got several things to go through.
It allows you to fly. And this is not something they did because they were spending too much money. This is something because they got hit with a medical emergency.
The state will work with a nonprofit that buys up medical debt and then eliminates it at a reduced cost.
So apparently good things can still happen in America, which is kind of shocking to me because I was under the impression that those days are long behind us. It's all bad stuff from here on out. We're just circling the drain and nothing good will ever happen in American politics. But something good happened. Not just good, like really, really good. So good that it actually made me feel something. And I think that that feeling is happiness. Dare I say joy, which I'm not necessarily sure because I haven't gotten that feeling from American politics in a very long time. But we've got some genuinely good news, folks. Connecticut's Democratic Governor Ned Lamont announced that his state is going to become the first in the nation to cancel medical debt. ABC News report.
Yeah, and like stuff like this freaking matters, okay? Stuff like this matters. This is where you make a difference. When all else fails, this is where you make a difference. Okay? Pay attention to local and state politics, okay? This is where the magic happens, folks. Let's go. Yes. This is excellent. Yes. This is where the magic happens, folks. Pay attention. Pay attention to local and state politics, okay? Even even if you are in a very red state, because sometimes you are given the opportunity to take back some agency with, bills like not bills, what are they called? Amendments or ballot measures. That's where the magic happens. Okay. Pay attention, folks. Pay attention to your state and local politics.
Reports, the state plans to erase approximately $1 billion in medical debt this year by leveraging $6.5 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds, it said. Residents whose household income is up to 400% of the federal poverty line for a family of four, that's $124,800 annually, or whose medical debt equates to 5% or more of their annual income will be eligible.
And how embarrassing is it that, like, if a state government can manage to figure this out, why can't we have a federal, like, medical debt jubilee? Like, riddle me that one, okay? Why is it so difficult for student debt and medical debt, things that should not even be, like, in existence? Things that shouldn't even exist. Why is that such a issue? Yet, it's very clear that it's quite possible to do if there's a will. I'm officially a North Dakota voter now.
Under the program, the state said. Some 250,000 residents are anticipated to see their medical debt erased with this initial $6.5 million investment, the state said. More than 1 in 10 Connecticut residents have medical debt in collections, according to the state. I mean, this is an absolute game changer. It's good policy and it's good politics. And I hope that other governors now feel pressured to do the same thing as well. Now, they are financing this, as the article stated, with funds from the American Rescue Plan. So Republicans can't fearmonger about a new tax to pay for this or anything like that. But the downside is that it is means tested. And I think that universal programs are always preferable to means tested programs. But having said that, though, the eligibility requirements are fairly wide and residents don't have to do anything to qualify for debt relief as they usually do with means-tested programs, because this is automatic. They just get it. It's expected to take effect in June. So if you live in Connecticut and you have medical debt, you should see that erased in June, just like that. Incredible.
Damn, almost like if, government actually wanted to work and want to do the things for people, it can. It can. Yeah, amazing. Just poof, gone. Amazing.
Now, this goes without saying, but we still need a single-payer healthcare system. We need Medicare for all, so medical debt is no longer a thing in the United States. Medicare for all wouldn't just do away with medical debt. It would save $450 million annually, and most importantly, save 68,000 lives per year, according to a study conducted before the pandemic by researchers at Yale and other universities. But in the absence of a single-payer healthcare system, I think that governors zeroing out medical debt that people acquire through no fault of their own is a massive, massive step in the right direction. And to be fair, it's not the first time that this has been done, because on a smaller scale, New York City Mayor Eric Adams actually did something good, perhaps for the first time ever, and he announced $2 billion in medical debt relief for New Yorkers who qualify earlier this year. And on top of that, last year, Colorado lawmakers passed the law removing medical debt from credit reports. Now, on top of that, local governments have also used funds from the American Rescue Plan to buy and cancel debt for people in large cities like New Orleans.
Yeah, so again, this is where the magic happens. Pay attention. Even if you're in a ruby red state, sometimes good things happen like this. Plus all other benefits of people having money in their pockets. Exactly. Now do student loans. Yes. Student loans and medical debt should just not be a thing.
Pittsburgh and other areas. But I mean, this is clearly the next logical step where medical debt is just canceled across the board at the state level. This is huge, and it's going to become increasingly necessary as more and more Americans acquire medical debt, because our system isn't changing anytime soon. It's not just going to automatically get better. We actually have to fix it. So ABC News continues, a 2022 analysis of government data by the Kaiser Family Foundation Peterson Health System Tracker estimated that 9% of adults, approximately 23 million people, owed more than $250 in health costs. Those more likely to report significant medical debt included people with a disability, uninsured adults, low-income adults, and Black Americans, the report found. Now, additionally, that KFF Peterson study also points out that Americans with cancer have higher levels of debt than people without cancer. And even though 90% of Americans now have health insurance, medical debt is still a persistent problem in this country. So much so that it's the number one cause of bankruptcy, according to the bankruptcy.
Yeah, and will continue to be a problem as long as this is a thing. As long as it's commodified and a for-profit system, this is always going to be a problem. So, like Mike Figueroa said, like maybe just cut out that whole thing entirely and make a universal system, a universal single-payer system.
Institute, which isn't necessarily surprising considering the fact that 100 million Americans are saddled with medical debt, according to the Texas Tribune. So once and for all, action is finally being taken to address this, and Democrats are doing the humane and popular thing by just giving Americans relief. I mean, think about how disgusting the system is. You can have a medical emergency through no fault of your own, and an ambulance is called for you, and then you're taken to a hospital, and it turns out that hospital that you were taken to is not in your network, which means you now have to foot the bill. Or let's say, best case scenario, you have insurance, you were taken to the correct hospital, but then the procedure that you needed isn't covered by your insurance, or the medication that you needed isn't covered by your insurance. Well, now you have to pay for that as well. I mean, it's so gross that rather than focusing on getting better if you have cancer, you now likely have to focus on medical debt and worry about that too, because perhaps the medication that you need isn't covered by your insurance. It's such a barbaric system. Like, the fact that we've allowed this to continue for so long is astonishing to me. The fact that medical debt is a thing in the first place speaks to how awful our for-profit healthcare system is. But this right here.
Yep. True. My mother-in-law said she had a device for one day that cost $80,000. That's absurd. That is absurd. But she has insurance. Well, that's good, but still, jeez. Yeah, it does happen all the time. You know, we've gone over these horror stories where people literally get procedures or medical items rejected that the doctor said that they need because the insurance company said no. I Need Comforting just came from a stream where we were breaking down Tim Pool's exposure to the porn industry. I'm sorry. What? What stream did you manage to land in? That was breaking down Tim Pool's exposure to the porn industry. Was a time release doodad for her chemo? Jeez.
Is how you address this in the short term. And other Democratic governors need to do the same exact thing. And Democrats in Congress need to push this.
Oh, James from the internet. Oh, man. That's funny.
As legislation. I mean, imagine if Joe Biden pressured Republicans to support medical debt relief instead of a far-right border bill. Imagine what that would do for him politically. And sure, Republicans aren't going to support it, but make them tell their constituents, make Mike Johnson, a Christian, tell his constituents that he thinks that they should be stuck with medical debt. Force these Republicans to explain to the people who vote for them why they think they should be burdened with medical debt in the richest country on the planet, even though they accumulated that debt through no fault of their own. This is how you play politics. And again, it's not just about politics, because making a difference in people's lives is really important, but you can do both at the same time. It's good politics and good policy. Now, the reason why I bring up Republicans is because Republicans in Connecticut, of course, are against this. But as I said, there's no new tax, and it's also means tested. So how exactly can Republicans possibly formulate any opposition to this without sounding foolish? And this is how.
We never liked this proposal because it's paying off.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you came here, Conscious Canuck. I'm sorry that you had to endure that. So if you want some comforting, something comforting, the Connecticut Democratic governor decided to essentially buy off medical debt in the state. I bet they're going to make a moral hazard argument. All right, let's hear it. Give me the old bootstraps, okay? Give me the old bootstraps argument, or give me the old we don't want the government getting involved in people's lives and tethering free people, okay? Tethering free people to the government to the government apparatus. All right, sorry. Let me replay that.
This without sounding foolish. And this is how.
We never liked this proposal because it's paying off bad uncollectible debt. So the effect of it is really minuscule. And it's taking $6.5 million that could go towards something else.
Bless his heart. In other words, they have nothing. Well, medical debt isn't that big of a deal, comparatively speaking. So, we really could be using that money for something else. That's it.
Like what, bro? American mental health care is just a bottle of something strong.
That's the only argument that they have. Now, the question is, what? How would you distribute this money in a different way? Well, he actually alluded to what he would do and had some surprising recommendations. So in a Facebook post, he writes, "The governor may enjoy the headlines he's getting on canceling medical debt, but I have little doubt this policy decision will disappoint people who don't qualify for relief and frustrate organizations, local leaders, and residents as capital conversation continues about meeting core needs such as special education funding, heating assistance for vulnerable residents, or investing in Medicaid rates for all residents." Okay, so pump the brakes. I'm sorry. Is this Republican inadvertently advocating for a universal policy instead of a means-tested policy? Not to mention, is he actually making reasonable recommendations that are, dare I say, good? I mean, listen, you don't have to pick and choose, which is what he wants you to do. You can do all of those things, but he's trying so hard. He's trying to find some way to be against this, but he's kind of backed himself into a corner. And the only option that he has, because he's got to oppose the Democrat no matter what, since he's a Republican, the only option he has is to outflank the Democratic governor who did this from the left. Again, this is the...
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, and of course, the governor's response, or the Democratic response, would be like, oh, so you do want to, like, fund all of these things? Yeah, man, give me the bill. I'll sign it tomorrow. You mean you want to actually fund all of these programs? What? Yeah, man, just give me the bill. I'll sign it tomorrow. If that's the game you want to play. Yeah, you can do it all. Because like that, again, that funding to make that happen came from the federal funding anyways.
Minority leader in the House. See, I don't believe that he actually wants to do those good things. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a Republican in the first place. But what's happening here is the governor, Ned Lamont, did something so fucking overwhelmingly positive and popular that he yanked the Overton window in his state so far to the left that Republicans now have to LARP as progressives to oppose him. That right there is what I call effective leadership. Take notes, Joe Biden. Take notes, Democrats in Congress. And most importantly, if you're a Democratic governor, copy him. Don't just take notes. Copy his homework. Do what he did. Because I promise you, you will be rewarded for it politically. And the best part is you're actually going to make a meaningful difference in the lives of so many people in your state. This is the way right here. Major, major kudos to Ned Lamont. I have no choice but to stand. This man is a king for what he did. Love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That is how you do it. That is how you do it. And call out their nonsense, because like you know that you know that Republicans don't actually care about any of those programs, right? Like if it was up to Republicans, they would be completely eliminating Medicare and all these programs. But the fact that they're like trying to LARP or present this faux this faux like, oh well, all of a sudden, I got to make sure that all this is funded. Call them out on this. This is great, but it needs to lead to universal healthcare. You're ending up right back here the next time this year with the same issues still in place. No doubt. No doubt that you, at the end of the day, you're going to need to solve the root problem, which is the privatization and making healthcare for profit that led us to this in the first place. Meanwhile, the Senate Dems are out here effectively appeasing and doing the exact work of the fascists. As this Huffington Post reporter points out, Senator Murphy going off on the GOP saying that they're a nightmare to negotiate. Quote, they are a disaster right now. How can you trust any Republicans right now? They told us what to do, which, let me stop you right there. Excuse me? Why are Republicans telling you what to do? Like, we're gonna need an explanation on that one. Why are Republicans telling you what to do? We followed their instructions to the letter. And then they pulled the rug out from under us in 24 hours. This is mind-boggling. Look what they did to James Langford. I was disgusted what they did to James. They're talking about some far-right dude. They put him out there and asked him on their behalf to negotiate a compromise, which it can't be a compromise if they're telling you what to do, okay? So that doesn't make any sense. And they didn't even give him a chance to argue the merits. That's right, you don't negotiate with terrorists or a-holes or fascists. Because there was nothing to negotiate here. This is not a negotiation. This is not a negotiation when one party is telling you what to do. Okay? If one party is dictating what the parameters are, what the instructions are to be followed, that's not a negotiation. You're just doing what they're asking you for. This doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you don't negotiate with them, you defeat them. Exactly. At no point has negotiating with fascists ended up working, okay? And as I point out here, why the F are Democrats following GOP instructions to the letter? They're effed. This is a recipe for disaster. 9 months out to the election, and they're following instructions to the letter from fascists. Cool. Very, very cool. And you can see, like, right after the aftermath of where this is going. Because apparently the plan now is to make this an issue? Question mark. Biden pledges to campaign every day on the Trump border meddling. And a stark reversal of his campaign messaging. Oh, this makes me want to fucking scream. Biden vowed to tell voters every day now, between now and November, that former President Trump and his GOP allies in Congress are the only reason the border is not secure. Okay. And blaming former President Trump for blowing up the Senate bipartisan border security bill, Biden is trying to turn a policy setback into a political asset. This bill won't even move forward in the Senate floor. Why? A simple reason. Donald Trump, Biden said in a remark at the White House, he'd rather weaponize the issue than actually solve it. Okay, but you're playing into the delusions that this is an issue in the first place when your own constituency is saying, like, this isn't really an issue. The American people are going to know why it failed, and I'll be taking this issue to the country. Biden's goal is simple, but his challenge is immense. He has 9 months to pull it off. This is great. This is good. Very good. With his full-throated endorsement of a Senate bill that Republicans have effectively killed, Biden is guaranteeing that illegal immigration will take center stage in the 2024 election. That's the political terrain Trump has long favored. He wrote his signature "Build the Wall" slogan on the White House, to the White House in 2016. The task for Biden is to use the trappings of the presidency to convince an angry electorate that he's more serious about fixing the border than Trump is. Biden is armed with sound bites from Trump's fellow GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley and congressional Republicans that Trump would rather keep the border as a political issue than give Biden a policy win. But again, you're acknowledging the delusion. You're acknowledging this manufactured crisis. Okay? When Republicans are like, "Oh, open borders," and here come the invasion, invasion caravans, migrants, brown people rhetoric that happens every election. You don't need to feed into that delusion, okay? You don't need to play into that delusion because now you're in their territory, okay? Quote, "I cannot vote for this bill. Americans will turn to the upcoming election to end the border crisis," said Senator Barrasso, the number 3 Senate Republican. Congressional Republicans, not to mention Trump, have made a chaotic scene at the southern border, Exhibit A, in their indictment of Biden as president. Trump hasn't made any effort to hide his political calculus. His political calculus, Senate legislation, which also includes the funding for Ukraine and Israel, would hurt Republicans at the ballot box. Quote, "This is a gift to Democrats, and this is sort of shifting of the worst border in history onto the shoulders of Republicans," Trump said on the Dan Bongino show. While the White House isn't prepared to publicly declare the Senate deal is dead, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, one of its key backers, appeared to accept defeat on Tuesday. Quote, "Most of our members feel we're not going to be able to make law here," McConnell acknowledged. Biden is walking a fine line on an issue that's dividing his own party, with some Democrats concerned that Biden is channeling Trump, not challenging him. Yeah, that's a problem. You know, the actual people that are going to show up to vote for you, Latino leaders, including 2 prominent Democratic senators, have been railing against the bill, insisting that its restrictions on asylum were inhumane and too harsh. The deal includes a new version of a failed Trump-era immigration policy that will cause more chaos at the border, not less, Senator Alex Padilla said in a statement opposing the bill. The White House's preferred outcome on the border talks have always been a legislative solution, which officials hoped would unlock funding for Ukraine, opposed by some Trump-aligned Republicans. The deal would have given Biden another bipartisan accomplishment, adding to his legislative achievements on infrastructure and semiconductors. But absent a win on the border, Biden will try to seize the issue and play Trump to a draw. This is so silly. This is absurd. This is so absurd. I don't get it. I don't get what the play is here. I really don't. Oh, dude, wow, awesome. Wow, dude, cool. Awesome. Cool comment, dude. Cool. Let me show you what I think about it. So if you're having a divided electorate or divided party over this, because you decided that you were going to make this issue an issue, don't surprise Pikachu face when people decide that they're going to stay home. This is an absolute disaster. Obviously, I had no idea what they were talking about. Yeah, I mean, trolls are just gonna troll, you know? Trolls be trolling. I'm pretty sure, like, the message didn't even come through because, Twitch's Automod held the message, but yeah. So explain to me how the plan here is going to be to try to sell this idea to your electorate. Okay? Like how is this going to work exactly? When you're having an ever-growing contingent of your electorate being more and more angry at you. Okay? What exactly is the strategic advantage here? I suppose we're going to find out in November. And again, if I'm wrong, you know, if I'm wrong, I'll have egg on my face and we move on, you know. But if I'm not, I was nomming, not paying attention. Most delectable, by the way. Yeah, so to give you the TLDR, somehow the Biden strategy is going to be to try to convince the electorate that the border issue is an issue, and look, I'm solving the issue, when nobody on that side is asking for this. Like, nobody's asking for this. Okay? Like, if you poll Democrats, I think I think like maybe 30% seem to think that the border is an issue, versus like your 70+% of the Democratic electorate doesn't prioritize this as an issue. But apparently Joe Biden's all over it, okay? And somehow the people that are angry, that are on your side, that are supposed to be potential voters for you, we're don't worry, Joe Biden's on the case. Somehow we're supposed to be convinced by this. He's all over it. Shifting gears here, so what we're about to witness on Sean Hannity's show is what can only be described as a brutal assault by a bunch of xenophobes known as the Guardian Angels, assaulting a person because they thought that this person was a migrant, because they're xenophobic bigots. It turns out that the person was not a migrant, and I do hope that they get charged with a hate crime. And I gotta go. See y'all. Hey, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, join the Discord. Live on cable news.
If you divide 53 million by 500, that's a $106,000 debit card. Not a bad deal. I don't think they're giving them to vets that are homeless in New York City. Not that I've heard, Curtis.
Well, in fact, our guys have just taken down one of the migrant guys right here on the corner, 42nd and 7th, while all this is
Can you pan the camera?
They've taken over. They've taken over. You'd like the camera over there if at all possible.
The play is using what is popular in the media to craft draconian legislation that appeals to the GOP. People would never vote for it because he has the Democrat cooties on it and then crow about it until election day. Right. Meanwhile, the electorate, your people who are supposed to be voting for you are like, hey, what the heck? Why are you doing this? If we wanted Republican policies, we should have voted Republican.
Yep. Oh, you got your key open, guys.
It's out of control. Out of control.
There. All right. Now, Eric Adams often complains he's getting no support from the federal government to help him with the surge of Joe Biden's unvetted illegals in New York. And that could be because of the so-called border czar is a little distracted right now. According to a report, Vice President Harris has now suddenly, quote, found her footing. And she's now apparently getting ready for a future presidential run of her own in 2028. According to the Daily Mail, she campaigned in South Carolina last week, visited.
Yeah. I hope these people get charged. I hope these people get charged, and I hope they get charged with hate crimes too. Here we have Senator Ron Paul. I'll let him take it away.
You think you'd be developing dozens of new drugs every year if the whole world were? You think you'd be developing dozens of new drugs every year if the whole world were Canada?
No, I do not.
So this is what we're arguing against. You know, sure, you can make it for pennies now, but it didn't start that way. And then people are like, oh my, it costs so much in the beginning. That's capitalism. That's the way it works in capitalism. Joseph Schumpeter talked about this, and he said, this is an old anecdote, but he said, the miracle of capitalism is not that queens have silk stockings, but that factory girls ultimately do. But in the beginning, only the queen has silk stockings. Rich people get stuff in the beginning. Rich people drive the innovation.
That's not true. Also, Yeah, dude, nobody like necessarily needs silk stockings. But here's the thing. Life-saving medication isn't fucking optional, dude. Phenomenal freaking logic at work over here.
The first calculators that came out, $300 for adding, subtracting, and dividing machine. Now they're like pennies or free. But you have to allow the price to be higher in the beginning, and the market brings it down as you have more widespread market. That's capitalism. We don't know what the correct price is. There is no moral price. There is no moral amount of profit. There is no business of any.
Wow, there's no mortal amount of profit that you could possibly. We don't know. So you know what? If you think that like 200,000% markup is good enough, you know, I can't tell you. There's no moral profit. Hey, by the way, if you don't have this drug, you'll die. This asshole heard of Abraham Lincoln, or do you need another name to come over to your house and explain it to you? By the way, U.S., keep your damn hands off our Canadian drugs. We only have enough for our populace. That is a good Cinemax show, though.
If y'all telling them how much stock to buy back, their job is to make a profit. It's actually against the law for them not to maximize their profit.
Yeah, we're kind of saying the quiet part out loud here, right? It's actually been legislated that in fact that you are legally obligated. You are legally obligated to extract or make number go up, make line go up. It doesn't matter what it is. So what if it's life-saving medication? Your job, you have a fiduciary duty to make sure. Yeah, it should be a crime against humanity. I was referring to Lincoln's quote about labor being the better to capital, quote. I mean, Lincoln did correspond with Marx here and there, didn't he? Did he not?
For you to sit in judgment of how much profit they should make and how they should run their companies, you know nothing of running companies. You know, nobody up here, maybe some, but
neither do you. Okay? But and neither do you. You don't seem to understand how, like, economics works at all. This has nothing to do with silk stockings or calculators.
Big companies, billion-dollar companies, and you presume somehow to say you're going to tell these people how to run their company. List price versus net price. List price means absolutely nothing. I charged $1,800 for cataract surgery. The government paid me $600. 2/3 of it, nobody stole that. It disappeared because it never existed.
What?
I billed $1 million in charges. I really was only billing $300,000 because that's what I was getting paid. But because of the confusing nature of the system, the list price is much different than the net.
Isn't that a problem, my dude? That sounds like a problem, dude. Incidentally, that sounds like a problem that only exists in capitalism. Whew.
But to quote list price and then compare it to net price in other countries is completely and profoundly unfair. The list price means absolutely nothing. All of these fallacies need to be addressed before we begin haranguing American CEOs. Thank you. You think you'd...
Wow. Intellectual titan, Rand Paul. That is how healthcare works, not that it should. Yes, that is exactly how it works, and it shouldn't. And he's saying that this is just fine. Meanwhile, Mr. Paul, not that long ago, by the way, 2019 isn't exactly that long ago. It's what, 5 years from now? Not even about 5 years ago. The free market pushed him to Canada for surgery. Yeah. After arguing to keep the very system that he couldn't even use and was pushed out and had to go to another country for surgery. The reason why you have insurance is to get large discounts. Supposedly, but that's not even how that works at all. Because insurance is just like a middleman. Insurance is basically like a middleman. That shouldn't even exist when it comes to healthcare. He gets free healthcare anyways as a senator. Well, I don't think he just gets like blanket healthcare. All members of Congress get free healthcare for life after completing one full term. Maybe he gets reimbursed for doing this because this was an optional surgery. This was like for a procedure that I think it was like not, you know, this is just something that he decided to do that wasn't like life threatening. Oh my god. This surgery actually was the result of his neighbor attacking him. May have been a specialist. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this was related to the to the incident with his neighbor. Part of the problem is congressional members get the best health insurance in the world. They're not Well, I'm assuming you're saying they have no incentive to fix anything? Or they have nothing to fix?
Do you think you'd be developing dozens of new drugs every year if the whole world were Canada?
No, I do not.
So
If
this
the
is what
whole
we're
world were
arguing.
Canada, goes to Canada. Ah! Yeah. Incidentally, my quote tweet is my first semi-viral tweet with my response being, what is satire even? They think or act like everyone gets that insurance. Yeah, I guess so, but they know that that's not the case. So yeah, they're lobbied in enough. They know that's not the case. As someone earlier pointed out, Nikki Haley's is trounced by none of these candidates' option in the primary. Nikki Haley was swamped in Nevada's symbolic Republican presidential primary as GOP voters resoundingly picked none of these candidates' option on the ballot in the repudiation of the former UN ambassador who is the last remaining rival to frontrunner Trump. Trump did not compete in Tuesday's primary, which doesn't award any delegates needed to win the GOP nomination. The former president is instead focused on caucuses that will be held on Thursday, today, and will help him move closer to becoming the Republican standard bearer. That leaves the results Tuesday as technically meaningless in the Republican race, but they still amount to an embarrassment for Haley, who has sought to position herself as a candidate who can genuinely compete against Trump. Instead, she became the first presidential candidate from either party to lose a race to none of these candidates since that option was introduced in 1975. They said beforehand she was going to focus on the states that are fair and did not campaign in the western state in the week leading up to the caucuses, spending time instead of in her home state, South Carolina, before its February 24th primary. Her campaign read off the results with a reference to Nevada's famous casino industry. Even Donald Trump knows that when you play the penny slots, the House wins. We didn't bother to play a game rigged for Trump. We're full steam ahead in South Carolina and beyond. Yeah. None of these works for president. True. They should let me run Nikki Haley's campaign. I don't think anyone can save Nikki Haley's campaign at this point. Hottest January on record pushes 12-month global average temperature over 1.5 degree threshold for the first time ever. Cool. Nice. Yeah. Totally something scientists haven't been warning us about for a while now. The world had just seen its hottest year recorded, and 2024 has already set a new heat record for the warmest January ever observed, according to the European Union's climate change monitoring service, Copernicus. The service said that January 2024 had a global air temperature of 13.14 degrees Celsius or 55.65 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature was 0.70 degrees Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 average for the month and 0.12 degrees Celsius above the last warmest January in 2020. It was also 1.6 degrees Celsius warmer than the pre-industrial average for the month. Cool. And you saw they're considering making a new Category 6 for hurricanes also. Yes, that's true. So, yeah, it's indicative of where things are. And yet people decide very delusionally, that's even a word, to pretend that this isn't even this isn't a problem. 2024 starts with another record-breaking month, said Samantha Burgess, Deputy Director of the Copernicus Climate Change Service, said in a news release announcing the findings. Not only is it the warmest January on record, but we also experienced a 12-month period of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial reference period. So again, like the whole 1.5 meme is gone, in my opinion. There's no even like point in talking about it. I think it's safe to say that like it's done. I think it's safe to say that it's done. The news from Copernicus comes weeks after the agency confirmed that 2023 shattered global heat records. Those record temperatures were linked to deadly heat, droughts, and wildfires that devastated countries around the world. The rising global temperature is fueling the extreme weather, helping feed storms that spawn hurricanes, bring massive precipitation events that flood developed areas. This far exceeds anything that is acceptable, said Bob Watson, a former chair of the United Nations International Panel on Climate Change, told CBS News partner BBC. Network partner BBC News. Look what happened this year with only 1.5 degrees Celsius. We've seen floods, we've seen droughts, we've seen heat waves, wildfires all over the world, and we're starting to see less agricultural productivity and some problems with water quality and quantity. A landmark UN report published in 2018 said the risk of extreme consequences of climate change would be much higher if global warming exceeded the 1.5 degree threshold. Most of the warming stems from the buildup of greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere, largely emitted from burning of fossil fuels such as coal and oil. So no Snowpiercer. No, not quite. Although, I mean, like, the degree of, like, how this is going to play out is wild, because, like, you could have, like, massive snowstorms in certain parts. So, I don't know. While the news is a dire warning about the state of the planet, scientists say it would take multiple years of surpassing the 1.5 degree mark for the world to officially be considered in the new era of climate change associated with the threshold. Yeah, the problem with that is that, we don't want it to get to that point. This report does not mean that we will permanently exceed the 1.5 degree level specified in the Paris Agreement, which refers to long-time warning over many years. World Meteorologist Organization Secretary General Pateri Talas said last year, however, WMO is sounding the alarm that we will breach the 1.5 level on a temporary basis with increasing frequency. Right, and if nothing changes, then yeah. And this isn't something that you adjust on the fly and you get like immediate results, right? As it is, or as it stands, we've already locked in X amount of warming. Every day we continue to use fossil fuels. In December, climate negotiators from around the world agreed at COP28 that countries must transition away from fossil fuels. The deal aims to usher in that transition in a manner that achieves net zero greenhouse gas emissions over the next 26 years, in part by calling for the expanded use of renewables. The plan, however, includes cavernous loopholes that allow the U.S. and other fossil fuel-producing countries to keep going their expansion of fossil fuels, which inevitably just means nothing because we're the biggest, emitters. Center for the Biological Diversity Energy Justice Director John Su told the Associated Press in December that's a pretty deadly and fatal flaw in the text. Right. Basically, it renders everything kind of useless, right? If the U.S. isn't being included in this, and these agreements don't even have any type of teeth to them, for lack of a better term, they have no enforceability, then it really is kind of useless, right? If the largest emitter on the planet is not included in this, then what is the point? And what is the implication of that, right? What does the messaging from like optics point of view look like? So the rest of the world is responsible, but the United States isn't? Upon the news that that January had marked yet another heat record, Burgess with the EU's Copernicus service reiterated the call for limiting the use of fossil fuels, saying it's essential to limit rapid warming the world is experiencing. Rapid reduction in greenhouse gas emissions are the only way to stop global temperature increasing. Full stop. Period. End of story. That's just the reality of it. At this point in time, there's just simply no room to continue to make fossil fuel projects. It's not really optional at this point. Meanwhile, these are where our priorities lie. The Senate advances Ukraine and Israel aid after GOP blocked larger border bill. The Senate voted on Thursday today to proceed with a stripped-down bill that would provide aid to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan 1 day after Republicans in the chamber rejected the bipartisan border security and foreign aid bill. The vote, 67-32, means the Senate can begin consideration of the $95 billion package. You know, because I guess we have nothing else to do with the $95 billion. Although the next step are uncertain and it's not yet clear we'll have the votes for final passage. Quote, it's a good first step. The bill is essential for our national security. What? You know, investing $95 billion on green energy would be infinitely more important to national security than sending money to Ukraine and Israel. Failure to pass this bill would only embolden autocrats like Putin and Xi, who want nothing more than America's decline. Now that we're on the bill, we hope to reach an amendment with our Republican colleagues and on amendments. He said the Senate would keep at it until the job is done. While nearly all Democrats favor the passage, Senate Republicans are divided on whether to approve the bill or filibuster. We'll find out if this makes it out of the Senate. After Libs of TikTok posted, at least 21 bomb threats followed. Stochastic terrorists. Last March, police in Coralville, Iowa investigated a bomb threat targeting a junior high school. Authorities brought in specially trained dogs to sniff for explosives and started to look into why somebody might try to target the community's teacher and students. Law enforcement quickly determined that the threat was a hoax. Detective Hannah Dvorak from the Coralville Police Department arrived at a theory. It all appears to stem from a post made earlier this week by domestic stochastic terrorist Kaya Rychek and her Libs of TikTok account. This is, by the way, a detective saying this, so this isn't just like the radical left who are just labeling me a stochastic terrorist. No, they literally arrived at that conclusion that your account is the one that's instigating this kind of stuff. Kaya Rychek is not accused of making any bomb threats. No. She wants other people via stochastic terrorism to do that for her. Or anyone else, but about a day and a half before authorities responded to the threat at Coralville Northwest Junior High, Kaya Rychek posted that the school offers a pornographic book in its library and teaches kids about gay sex. Quote, these are the books that they're giving to your kids to read in school, she wrote on her social media platform on Twitter. People have frequently targeted the book in question. This book is gay, a coming out guide for LGBTQ teens with book bans going back years. The Corville detective wrote in her report that one of Kaya Rychek's supporters could have a role in the bomb threat. Yeah. Corville was not alone. Officers and government officials in 4 other jurisdictions, Burbank, California, Minnetonka, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Tualatin, Oregon, told NBC News that they believe, again, like all of these people, completely separate departments in terms of like cities, all arrived at this idea, okay? That Kaya Rychek sparked threats in their localities with her posts on social media that digitally heckle people such as drag performers, LGBT. She doesn't just heckle people. She calls them groomers and pedophiles and all this other stuff. Truly a disgusting human being. I mean, you know, it's incredible, but not surprising that Elon Musk allows this stochastic terrorist. In fact, I think Elon Musk was directly responsible for putting her back on the platform, if I remember correctly, because she was banned. The names, drag performers, LGBTQ teachers, and doctors who treat transgender patients. The names Libs of TikTok is a reference to the people Kaya Rychek mocks on social media, Libs being short for liberal. Thank you, NBC News. Wow, we didn't know that. Thanks for that. If not anything but thorough. While the direct inspiration for the threats are not known, the timing suggests that Libs of TikTok, Kaya Rychek, posts have been used to pick targets. While direct inspirations are not known, it is a happy coincidence that it just so happens that Kaya Rychek's posts are being used to pick targets that, just again, coincidentally, end up with bomb threats. Yeah. Direct inspirations unknown. Cool. NBC News identifies 33 instances starting in 2020, November of 2020, when people or institutions singled out by Kaya Rychek, Libs of TikTok, later reported bomb threats or other violent intimidation. 33 instances, and you know, no, we just don't know where the direct inspiration is coming from. Sorry, folks. We just don't know. You know. We just don't know. We have law enforcement saying, yeah, you know, I think it's I think it is Kaya Rychek's post. When people or institutions singled out by Kaya Rychek later reported bomb threats or other violent intimidation. The threats, which on average came several days after tweets from Kaya Rychek, Libs of TikTok, targeted schools, libraries, hospitals, small businesses, and elected officials in 16 states, Washington, D.C., and the Canadian province of Ontario. 21 of the 33 threats were bomb threats, which mostly commonly targeted schools and were made via email. NBC News emailed Kaya Rychek on Monday seeking comment on the threats. She did not respond directly, but on a post on Twitter, said that NBC News was working on a hit piece. Quote, they tried to do it to paint me as an extremist to discredit me. You kind of are. Yeah, this bomb threat narrative is really getting old. Well, it keeps happening, so that's kind of a you problem, right? You keep doing the stochastic terrorism, so you can't really be surprised that it keeps happening, that you keep getting accused of said stochastic terrorism. NBC News identified the threats in review of local news sources, social media posts, and interviews with experts and victims. 33 threats drew local and national resources, law enforcement agencies in at least 13 jurisdictions reported receiving FBI assistance to find the responsible person or people. A police spokesperson in Burbank said he believed the FBI still has an open investigation into an incident there. In an emailed statement, the Bureau said it in general observed an increase in threats of violence targeting institutions like hospitals and schools. As a country and organization, we have seen an increase in threats of violence targeting government officials, institutions, house of worship, schools, and medical facilities, just to name a few. The FBI and our partners take all threats of violence seriously, and responding to these threats ties up law enforcement resources. When threats are made as a hoax, it puts innocent people at risk. It's a waste of law enforcement's limited resources and cost taxpayers. The FBI and our state and local partners will continue aggressively pursuing perpetrators of these threats, real or false, and hold them accountable. The FBI did not respond directly to questions about Kaya Rychak or the status of cases related to the 33 threats. Prosecutors have pursued charges in only 3 of the 33 instances NBC News reviewed. At least 3 people have been charged with threatening Boston Children's Hospital or Boston doctors. A juvenile was arrested after being accused of making a threat at an Oregon middle school. And 5 members of the white nationalist hate group Patriot Front were convicted of conspiring to riot at an Idaho Pride event, which we covered. The charges documented associated with those prosecutions did not mention either Kaya Rychak or Libs of TikTok. Of the 33 instances, law enforcement or officials in foreign jurisdictions said they were indications, such as email addresses with non-U.S. domains, that the threats could have come from people in foreign countries. Kaya Rychak, the founder of Libs of TikTok social media brand, has become an internet celebrity among the far right for her willingness to criticize teachers and doctors and other that's one way of putting it, I suppose. Doctors and other professionals who are LGBTQ or accepting of LGBTQ people. Kaya Rychak often posts her names. You mean doxes? The word is doxing. The word is doxing. Kaya Rychak often doxes them with names, photographs, alongside accusations of wrongdoing to Twitter, which she has 2.8 million followers, including accusations of pedophilia and grooming. Constantine Anthony, a city council member in Burbank, he said he received violent threats by email less than an hour after Kaya Rychak posted a video of him. The video showed Anthony, who at the time was the Burbank's mayor, getting spanked by a drag queen at a political fundraiser, and Kaya Rychak said it happened in front of children. Anthony said there was no children present. He was close and laughing at in the video. Anthony told NBC News that based on the timing, he believes he and his city hall staff received at least 2 bomb threats as a result of Kaya Rychak, Kaya Rychak's account, Libs of TikTok. Yeah, just to make sure, like I'm deliberately naming her constantly because she's the one that's responsible for this. A spokesperson for Burbank Police Department said the police had deferred the threats to the FBI, who is investigating them. Anthony, a Democrat running for seat of the LA County Board of Supervisors, blamed Kaya Rychak for turning him and others into targets. He said receiving harassing messages and threats by email, voicemail, social media, and even handwritten letters. He said he saw increases in the number of threats after subsequent threats. Well, it was an attempted mix of threats and tweets. So, yeah, my bad. Tweets by Kaya Rychak. Libs of TikTok has now taken on a large and growing role in nation's culture wars, and fortunately, it provides ammunition to conservatives by collecting and posting examples of what it considers far-left ideology, such as TikTok videos of teachers discussing race or screenshots from gender clinic websites. Elon Musk, who restored Kaya Rychak's account on Twitter after it was suspended under previous ownership, frequently shares the account's posts on its own profile, and the account followers on Twitter include a number of politicians, including far-right senators Hawley, Cruz, and Trump. Hawley and Cruz. Former President Trump hosted Kaya Rychak for dinner in his estate. Tucker Carlson, also a white nationalist, featured her on his show. Rychak claimed to be at the January 6th insurrection, which FBI, outside the U.S. Capitol, though not in the building, according to the Washington Post. On January 23, Kaya Rychak was appointed to the Oklahoma Department of Education of Library Media Advisory Committee by Superintendent Ryan Walters. At least one lawmaker has referred to the bomb threat when contesting Kaya Rychak's appointment. The threats have been taking up government resources and been highly distracted. In response to the threats, some schools have canceled classes for days, while others stayed open on quick sweeps from law enforcement. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think, you know, the point being is that she's a domestic terrorist and continues to do this. Kai Rychek said she doesn't support threatening the subjects of her posts and is not responsible for how people respond to her content. Yeah, this is like the classic go-to line for stochastic terrorists, right? Like, hey man, you know, I'm not responsible for my huge audience, and I don't, you know, I'm not responsible for how people act. What a coward. Said she's faced threats herself when USA Today wrote about the threats. She posed with a copy of the article, smiling, and made it her profile picture on Twitter. What a disgusting human being. Anyways, this is what Firefly was talking about. Hurricanes are getting so intense that scientists propose a Category 6. I will post this tweet here. All right, folks, we made it. We made it. It is officially the weekend. If you enjoy the content, folks, please make sure you like the stream on the YouTubes. Follow us here on Twitch. It really does help us out. You have no idea. If you want to keep up with the channel, make sure you join the Discord. And again, if you join the Discord, you get not only do you get to hang out in a pretty chill place, but also on the last Saturday of the month, there will be a movie night. It's just a monthly event that we try to do. So if you want to join in on that, join the Discord. Again, check out the YouTube, like the stream, subscribe, do all the awesome stuff. I appreciate all the support that you guys have given. Thank you. Thank you guys for the biddies, the subs, all of that keeps the channel going. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hasser, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Folks, as always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one, Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.